Hello, welcome back to another lesson here on A Course in Miracles and A Course in Miracles 365, Awakening to Love, if you're tuning in from Enlightened World Network, where this show began about a year ago now as a live stream on the network. And now that it's pre-recorded, you can still see it on Enlightened World Network's YouTube channel, as well as my own. So wherever you have clicked from, wherever you're joining me from, welcome. We're talking today about oneness, unity, one, truth, God. Yeah, all that good stuff. It's a deep discussion, and as you go forward, especially those of you that are actively involved in studying A Course in Miracles, my hope is that you're having some fun with this and some aha moments. Now, those aha moments can take a lot of different forms, can't they? There can be moments where you realize your own power, your own sheer beauty, yeah, and limitlessness, and the power of love with a capital L, you with a capital Y. Yeah, the power of that can almost knock you down sometimes. It's so beautiful and profound. And then we can have those moments where we realize, ooh, this is a forgiveness piece here. Yeah, this is something I need to let go of. Right? So I hope that you're having a lot of these experiences. The more that you have, the better. The more this means that you're taking to heart, so to speak, and applying the principles that the workbook talks about, and that we keep going over, and this astounding similarity, right, in all of them. Any spiritual teacher in the world pretty much says the same thing at all times, just in different ways. Yeah, it's the content that's the same throughout. So I hope that you're having a lot of aha moments, and I hope that you're able to go through, because some of them can feel crappy. I mean, really, some of them can feel really serious. When something comes up for release, it's really important for us to understand that it's coming up because we can handle it right now. And the us from 2 years ago or 20 years ago could never have dealt with this sheer rawness, right? We couldn't have, but we can now. Why? We have the experience, we have the wisdom, if you prefer to call it that. We have the maturity. We have the presence of mind to recognize things for what they really are, and to act accordingly. We have those tools. That's a beautiful thing. And I hope that you're having this experience. Doesn't mean that you're going to have the experience that the spiritual path is beautiful every day, because some days it feels pretty ugly, doesn't it? Some days you just want to throw up your hands and say, why now? What the hell? And maybe you're having one of those right now today. But a good reminder for all of us is that anything that we would label uncomfortable or negative, right, maybe depressing or sad, anything that doesn't feel good to us is going to be deep down the result of fear. It's a fear-based thought. It's ego identification. It's identifying as a separate sense of self. It's lashing out at your brothers and sisters or yourself, which is actually the same thing. It's all of that. Those are all opportunities for forgiveness. Remember that everything we appear to see outside of us, that looks like it's outside of us, the paintings that appear to be behind me, on this screen, the tree that appears to be across the street from me in the park. Everything that we see supposedly outside of us is, in fact, the result of what's going on inside of us. What we see outside is symbolic. It's symbolic. When we see something beautiful, like the beautiful blue sky, or the pine tree, the eucalyptus tree that I'm looking at in the park across the street right now, those symbolize our own beauty as Christ, our own limitlessness, our own love, our own loving nature, right? Our joy, our boundlessness. And when we experience strain and constraints and chest tightening ick, it's an opportunity for forgiveness in whatever form that takes, whether it's forgiving yourself. And never forget that. Never forget that, right? Whether it's forgiving another person or a situation, a group of people, whatever the external form appears to be, it's an opportunity for us to forgive. So lesson 246 in the workbook reads, to love my Father is to love his Son. Oneness. To love my Father, God, is to love his Son. You. Someone from a rival political party, someone from another part of the world, me, yourself. One. It's really interesting, isn't it, how profoundly simple spirituality is. I mean, it really is. It's very simple. And as much as we like to complicate our lives here in the world, and believe me, we do, it's very simple. Lesson 246 just states it in the very first sentence of the comments that it reads verbatim here. Let me not think that I can find the way to God if I have hatred in my heart. Let me not think that I could possibly do this if I'm harboring hatred and ill will toward someone else or toward a rival political party. I like to use politics as an example. It's a really pronounced one, isn't it? But you can really put anything in that place. If you're harboring hatred, if you're harboring attack thoughts, thoughts of feeling worse than or better than someone else, if you're harboring thoughts of wanting to get revenge on somebody, lash out at them or give them the cold shoulder, troll them on social media, right? How can, in that state of mind, how can we, if we're hanging on to this, expect to find the way to God? Which, by the way, is the path of letting all of this extraneous stuff go. It's all or nothing. Either we forgive or we don't. Either we're expressing love or we're issuing a call for love. That's true of everyone else too, isn't it? Either they're expressing love and extending it, or they're sending out a call for love. It's a cry for help. You could 100% see it that way. So when we extend love, we're loving everyone, including ourselves. This is the way that has been set out for us to come home, so to speak. We discover along the path that we've never left home, and we never could have left, even though we had this remarkably long and painful dream of being cut off and separate and encased in a deteriorating physical body. Yeah, no matter what kind of shape we're in or how many times we go to the gym or how hot we are, right? How well we eat doesn't last forever. It's not who we are, though. This is one of the lessons that A Course in Miracles so effectively, in my estimation, teaches, because it repeats it again and again and again. You'll recall from prior lessons here in the workbook, I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. We discover this still as God created me along the way, that we really aren't going anywhere. But to the extent that it helps to conceive of the spiritual path as a journey, as having a starting point and an ending point. In fact, there are no points. There's no separation of any kind. So there's no point A and no point B in the end. But to the extent that this helps you show up as love, then run with that. Yes, please do. Run with that. Absolutely. If it helps you to conceive of this as a journey with many stops along the way to pause and rest, do that. Do that. This is why there's so many different spiritual traditions in the world. A Course in Miracles being just one of many, is that there are many different kinds of people, right, in the world with different thought systems. They live in different parts of the world, having been raised differently, with access to different materials and different histories, different cultures, different societal values and mores, and different pressures, different supports. That's why there's so many different spiritual traditions. They all ultimately converge, because it's all the same path, but there are many doors to it. So A Course in Miracles may be a door that's open for you right now. I can relate to that. It was and is for me. I have been practicing the Course as my own, pretty much the basis of my spiritual practice since 2013. Now, you may or may not have had an experience like this. And if you're new to A Course in Miracles and you're new to these videos, I really do invite you to scroll all the way back to page 1 here of this YouTube channel and start from the start and see what resonates with you, because this path works really well for some people. And some people have chosen, as I have, to pretty much take that as their own path, as the primary vehicle, so to speak. And you don't have to do that, because there's so many different possible doors out there. This can be something that you use to augment your understanding or your experience, your growth in another tradition. This is not an exclusive path. It can be used. This material is universal, and it can be used in conjunction with any religious or spiritual tradition. So the possibilities really are quite endless, as there is no end. Right? So what I want to call, in closing, I want to call your attention to the italicized prayer here in lesson 246. As you know from looking at the last few workbook lessons, now that we're in part 2 of the workbook, the ideas and the commentary are very, very short. The idea is always short, and the commentaries are very short here. There is a part of the commentary that is italicized. That's a prayer that you could choose to say throughout the day and take to heart and act on. And then there is a non-italicized part, which is a bit of commentary. And typically here at this stage in the workbook, it's no more than 1 paragraph. In other words, it's an easy read, And what we don't always find easy is the will to apply that. So, that's where teachers come in. That's where I come in. That's where YouTube comes in. That's where social media may come in. It's where reminders come in, and reminders that are designed to inspire us to practice. When we notice ourselves getting carried away, they're tools that we can use to reconnect with the light. And we get distracted all the time. I mean, modern life gives us plenty of different ways of occupying our time in a manner that's, well, shall we put it, less than constructive. We might learn something scrolling Facebook. We might become inspired to practice scrolling Facebook or browsing someone's Instagram feed, but maybe not. Pay specific attention to the wording of the prayer here, because you will succeed, because it's God's will that you succeed. It's God's will that you find your way back, so to speak, to Him. It's His will. It's your will too. Oneness, remember, oneness, one, same. All right. So enjoy this sameness today, and thank you for tuning in. I will see you right here on the next video.